I'm beautiful in my own way. And if you don't like that, well, then you can just scurry on away.
Okay, so where did I leave off? And to do so violently, he did lose his freedom and therefore his life because I was a catalyst. The letter to my mom was only one example of the processing, deep thinking, and taking accountability that I did for the last 8.5 years in prison. This is, I don't know what this is. It just says Deep South, period. I wish I had my memoir ready for you to read now as I prepare to walk out of Chillicothe Correctional Center. But the book is like a year away. I told you writing a book is hard. I'm running out of time to finish it, but I will. I'm still figuring out how to explain how I've come to understand my own life in order to share it with you. I've had to cram 32 years of experiences, heartache, love, regret, friendship, and general mind-bending into the last 7. My world was so small that prison seemed big. That's a pretty small life. I didn't know how complex growing up is and how varied and nuanced life can be at the same time. I've had to think about the different themes in my life, how they come together and shape a person, how they can go wrong or be misunderstood and ruin you if you're not careful. The themes in this book are most complex and important to me, and coming to grips with them has made me the woman I am today. I figure maybe I'll continue to get letters from strangers welcoming me home, wondering how I'm doing and asking what I think about my time in prison and how I have reconciled with my past. She's like pre-planning the questions she's hoping that people will ask her so she can like come up with the answers. It's like just... God dang, it's so sad. In my life, how they come together and shape a person, how they can go wrong or be misunderstood and ruin you if you're not careful. The themes in this book are the most complex and important to me, and coming to grips with them has made me the woman I am today. I figure I'll continue to get letters from strangers welcoming me home, wondering how I'm doing and asking what I think about my time in prison and how I've reconciled with my past. So maybe I can at least have something short and sweet for y'all. So consider this ebook to be partly a cheat until the memoir is published and part inside scoop on my private conversations with Melissa and then Michelle, well, private-ish, since Chillicothe Correctional Center had the right to listen in and record them. The transcripts included here will give you a glimpse of the making of a memoir. Other times, I'll let my private photographs speak 1,000 words. And to give you a taste of prison's life, I will share prison paraphernalia and doodling I've done over the years as I've processed what life had once been like for me and what I hope to do with my life moving forward. I mean, you are talking about like putting that stuff in your book, right? Because no one cares. No one cares about your jail drawings. I'm sorry, they don't. I'd like to think of this endeavor as a rewrite of a misinformed story you've been told, like the Taylor's version re-recordings. I'm no Taylor Swift, but if this ebook were an album, I'd title it Gypsy's version, the only version that should be told, raw, revealing, and in rhythm with the real me. Of course you think it's the only version that should be told. You don't want the truth to get out there, do ya? Gypsy's version, right? Not the truth. In rhythm with the real me. Listen, Gloria Estefan, what are you talking about? Do you see how much thinking she's doing about the book and what it's going to say and how she's going to say it? It shouldn't be that complicated, girl. You shouldn't even have to think about it. I'd be more concerned about actually sitting down and doing any work because you don't like doing that. You've never had a job. So now there's this drawing, okay? It's a drawing that I'm going to show it on the screen. October 2nd, 2023. One of our assignments in ICVC was to illustrate what our crime looked like and the impact it had on the victims. This is a picture of my Habitat for Humanity house in a frame. The frame is cracked. In the shards of glass are all the people who were affected by my crime, who found out that the people they loved and cared for were all a facade. And it was me using a hammer to break the picture they had in their minds. On the hammer, I have Nick's name, seeing him as a tool for doing this, taking accountability, not hiding excuses. This is what I did, why I did it. Why I did it didn't matter. Wait. Taking accountability, not hiding excuses. This is what I did, why I did it didn't matter. What? Taking accountability, not hiding excuses. This is what I did, why I did it didn't matter. Am I misunderstanding that? What's going on in life? Illustrate what our crime looked like and the impact it had on the victims. I mean, I'm just going to say this right now. Like, your crime was a bigger deal than that sketch. And all those people in the shards of glass, there's what, 5 people? And they're not even like specific people. They don't have names or colors. They're just little stick figure heads. I mean, probably because that's how you see people, as nobodies. Nobody means anything to you. They don't have personalities or individuality. No, they're just little bobbleheads bobbing around. And if you need something, you interact. The premise of the image, though, is not bad. Nick's the tool. The hand has her name on it because she was the one who orchestrated everything. But this is what her perception of the crime, like, there's no devastation, nobody looks hurt. And while there's like shards of glass with little bobbleheads in it, the frame in glass doesn't even look broken. Like, that could just be confetti. That could just be like woo, this was the crime, you party. You know what I'm saying? Chapter 1. We haven't even gotten to chapter 1. On trust and betrayal. This is a free call from an offender at the Chillicothe Correctional Center and may be monitored and recorded. To accept this free call, press 1. To refuse, thank you for using Securus. You may start the conversation. Gypsy. Hi, Melissa. So I got my answer today, and it's really good news. I'm leaving prison and going home on my earliest possible out date of December 28th, 2023. All caps. Melissa. I knew it. Are you crying? Gypsy. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm excited and so emotional. It's all hitting me. The last 7 years are playing out in my mind. Remembering all the good things I've been through in prison and all the bad things I've been through in prison and what it's going to be like when I get home. All these things are zooming in my mind like hard. And I'm crying happy tears. And it's just, wow, giggling. Melissa, this was a lot faster than I thought you'd get the news. Gypsy, it took them all of 2 days to make their decision. 2 days! Melissa, have you ever heard of hearing back from the board so fast? Gypsy, I have not. Usually it takes 3 to 4 weeks to decide, and for them to come back with the date of my earliest possible release, I'm still trying to process it. Melissa, I'm so excited for you. Can you believe you are getting out next year? So what's your plan? How are you going to last from now until December 28th of next year? Are you going to tell any inmates? Sorry, I just have so many questions for you. Gypsy, my heart is literally beating out of my chest. I'm over the moon. I don't even know how to process this news myself. Just a few days ago, remember how scared I was for this hearing? I don't want to tell anyone. I'm trying to keep it private and just share it with close family. I don't want people to know because A, I don't want anyone to think I got off with no time. People in here are doing considerable amounts of time for murder. They'd call my sentence baby life. And B, I don't want to make people jealous and risk anyone sabotaging my date. So yeah, just close family. Melissa, I can't imagine how hard it's going to be to hide your excitement and be stone cold, just continuing your day without saying anything. Gypsy, yeah, I know. I can't stop smiling. People will be like, why is she walking around all happy, giggling? It's just been a really, really good day. Yeah, bitch, they've been there for a very long time. They're gonna know what's up. They're not stupid like you think everybody else is. Then there's a picture of Gypsy and Dee Dee, like a Sears picture where you go get them taken. My mom and I dressed alike for most of my life. Even in my adulthood, she ordered me muumuus that matched hers. Botched trust. My main human interaction throughout my early childhood was with my mother. So much of her grooming happened when my brain was still developing, when you have nothing but an unconditional trust of your parents. Grabbing the hand of her mother to cross a busy intersection. A child does not ever think she might be flung in front of a bus. Well, good thing you weren't. Or is that how you ended up in the wheelchair? Trust is necessary for survival. And for most of my childhood, I was told that my mother was the only thing keeping me alive. Stay close to me, she'd say. I know how to protect you. I have your best interest. That's what moms say, if you're lucky. My mom didn't say that shit. She'd be like, well, why don't you go take a long walk off a short pier? You know how many times I heard that in my life? Go take a long walk off a short pier. Why don't you go play in some traffic, is what my mom would tell me, literally. So, yeah, well, your mom was such a horrible person. She convinced the doctors of the same. What, that she had your best interest? Oh my God, whatever shall we do? Growing up with only one person in my life meant I had very little practice with trust and did not learn how to discern people. Having no friends took away the experiences, both good and bad, that make up an ordinary friendship. Maybe you can look back on that bestie from middle school, the time she flirted with the boy you were crushing on, and remember learning that feeling of betrayal. Nope. Sorry, I didn't have this situation going on, and I never learned social skills because of how isolated my mom kept me at home and how she psychologically abused me to be unsocial. That even when I was at school, I had no idea how to interact with human beings, and I still have a hard time to this day. So, you want to come? I mean, you're more than welcome. I got my email address on my bio on my YouTube channel. Feel free to email me whenever you want to have a chit chat about what you're trying to describe is actually like. And what you might have missed out on. I feel like I missed out on my entire childhood and I went to school. So, shut up. Or maybe it was a pickup basketball game you were left out of that helped you form an idea of who you wanted in your inner circle and who would stab you in the back. I mean, there had to have been so many situations in prison that you could have easily started brushing up on this types of behavior and education, this social interaction education that you're so convinced you missed out on, even though we know that's a complete and bold lie. And what is this example? Or maybe it was a pickup basketball game you were left out of that helped you. The fuck is a pickup basketball game? You know more about than you're fucking acting like you do, bitch. When it came to relationships of any kind with my dad, my stepmom, my attorney, fellow inmates, I was operating with a functional compass to guide my judgment. When I was first arrested and in county jail for about a year, I had to let it sink in that the one person I didn't know how to trust had betrayed my trust for my whole life. This is why I didn't trust my first public defender. If my own mother could hurt me and not have my back, why would this guy be any different? I didn't believe he was trying to help me, especially when he was questioning me about things I just couldn't understand or was hearing for the first time. Like that I didn't have leukemia or anemia or any of the illnesses that had defined me and confined me. I did comment on this excerpt in my previous videos, so I will try to link the video here and you can go see my commentary on this. I also have a couple shorts about it. One of the other inmates at the county jail saw how much I was struggling with the truth, with my guilt, with my loneliness, and she told me I could trust her with my feelings. I bet you $1,000,000 you couldn't. And if there's someone in county jail that says that to you, you better run. Run for the hills, you dumbass. I'm sorry. If this person turned out to actually be trustworthy, I'll apologize. But No, not happening. I'm sorry. It felt so damn good to just let every emotion pour out of me. At the time, waiting for trial, I was still desperately holding on to my love for Nick, missing my mother, and scared to be alone with so many strangers. Girl, I'm just going to let you know right now, like if you're in like a 2-man cell in county jail, you don't have to ask permission to pour out your heart. Everyone's expecting their cellie to be a complete psycho. So they have no control over what you do in there. If you need to pour it all out and get it all out loud, go right ahead. They can't stop you. They could try. I was still desperately holding on to my love for Nick, missing my mother, and scared to be alone with so many strangers. The shame and guilt were like 2 lumps in my throat. What about all those conventions that you went to? What about all those Comic-Cons that you went to? I mean, you didn't look like you were having any sort of a mental breakdown when you were meeting Miranda Lambert and the guys from Lord of the Rings. Doesn't sound like you were having any problem chit-chatting with strangers at these conventions. I didn't see you looking like you were all stressed out in pictures from the conventions you went to every year. The tons of conventions you went, in your own words. Girl, it's interesting because for someone who's so, convinced that they had no education and how could you let me not go to school and like, how am I, I could have gone to college and all this crap. For someone who thinks they have such a low IQ or whatever, you certainly have no problem assuming everyone else around you in life, in the world, is stupid, which must mean that you think you're smarter than everybody. So do you not see how ridiculous your lies are? Every time you open your mouth, do you not? For someone who thinks they're so smart, you sure do say a whole bunch of really dumb lies. You should be able to memorize them better if you're so damn smart. Anywho. The shame and guilt were like 2 lumps in my throat, making it so hard to talk through what I had done. And this inmate was sharing so much of her story with me, telling me she understood what I was going through. Girl, this sounds like a bad idea. Her being vulnerable with me helped me see she was a trustworthy friend. I bet it didn't. I bet it made you think that she was a perfect victim for whatever you needed her to be a victim of. Huh, Gypsy? So the ease with which I cried it out to this inmate was a lesson in why we need other people in our lives. Was Nick not enough for 3 years or however long you talked to him online? Every single day, sending videos and texting a million times a day? Pretty sure you know what it's like to have interaction with people. It's a lesson in why we need other people in our lives. You think you need other people in your lives to do your dirty work. That's what you feel like you need to have people in your life for. Not for a shoulder to cry on. Bitch, you don't have shoulders. You got fucking icy slopes like the Black Diamond Mountains at the ski resort. You ain't got no soft pillows for people to lay their head on and cry. Give me a break. Your shoulders have like epaulets, like those things that they put around buildings so the birds don't land on it and shit all over the place. That's what your shoulders are like. You just can't struggle or succeed alone. We are wired not to. My wiring had been haywire for so long, so I decided she was bonding with me and it was safe to form a trust. I mean, why are you talking about that still? Why are you talking about that for so long? Guess what, girl? You weren't alone your whole entire life, remember? You were with your mom the whole entire time. So, stop lying. Stop the cap. And then that inmate went to her public defender and told him everything I told her in confidence. Told you. Girl, please. And y'all think that I lie. Give me a break. Not only do I not lie, I know what the fuck is up. Give me a break. Well, you think I just make shit up out of my ass? Y'all think I make videos about Becca Scoops because I just talk out of my ass? No. I talk from life experience and brains and intuition. Please. Y'all think I don't know what I'm talking about? I know what I'm talking about. And if I don't, I'll say so. But I don't just talk to hear myself talk. I know what I'm talking about. That was a little side tangent for all you cult members. You know who I'm talking about. You know who I'm talking to. If you're not a cult member, then you know that wasn't for you. Anyway. That's what you get. That's called karma, is what that is. I remember my attorney coming to see me and telling me that the inmate I'd opened up to was trying to trade my secrets, which didn't even have much to do with the crime. For a plea deal, she had used me for her own benefit. I had made myself a target of manipulation, which, by the way, all this BS that you just described that you were like opening up to and crying and talking to another inmate about that you thought you could trust was not what you are making it out to be. It was you bragging about sex and talking about just a bunch of sexual shit, so much that you are disturbing criminals. You were disturbing and creeping out convicts. That's the kind of shit you were saying. You weren't crying about your mom. As a matter of fact, they even said that specifically in the interview that we all have seen. She said she never cried about her mom once. The only time she cried was one time, and it was over Nick. So no, you weren't sitting there crying, needing a shoulder to lean on. No, you were just stoked to have friends, and so you started talking about all your sexual fucking weird-ass shit, creeping people out. She actually said in her interview that she was on your side until you started talking about weird-ass shit, you creep. So... But you weren't crying. And guess what? Even though people betray you like that, which you are in jail, doesn't mean that you need to stop being a person who cares. Just because someone betrayed you doesn't mean that you stop being a person that other people can trust or be a shoulder for them to cry on. But you don't even want to do that in the first place. I mean, that's just a straight up sociopath right there. Just, you only do things if you're going to get something out of it. You don't do you would never think about doing something for somebody else for no reason at all. You're right. She had used me for her own benefit. Oh, no. Not used you for her own benefit. Oh, what's that feel like? What's that taste like? How you like them apples? Oh, you probably can't eat apples, huh? I had made myself a target of manipulation again. So when the parole board shared the news that they were granting me early parole, I didn't tell anyone at Chillicothe or outside my immediate family and Melissa because you, 8.5 years later, are still an untrustworthy person and you still don't trust anybody. In 8.5 years, you didn't meet one person who you realized you could trust. They don't have to be the fucking pinnacle of society, but in prison, there's usually women in there who at least stand their ground and stand their morals and who are women of their word. They know how to follow the rules, because people who are wishy-washy and back and forth and who lie, and those people don't last very long in prison. I had learned that people out there, especially when they have nothing else to lose, can screw with you just out of spite or jealousy or for their own self-interest. So in a way, my first lessons in trust and betrayal happened in jail. Stop it. Just stop. Stop it. Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop doing that. Is anyone else confused? Am I the only one? Am I stupid? Am I stupid? This is just what narcissists do. This is straight up gaslighting right here, isn't it? Your first lessons in trust and betrayal. What about your mom? What'd you kill her over then? I'm so confused. The first chapter in this book is called Trust and Betrayal. I had a lot of growing up to do. For a long time, I kept to myself. I wasn't about to touch a hot stove twice. As I took a look at my life during these years of incarceration, I realized that trust and its flip side, betrayal, were ever present in my family's dynamic. My mother had been betrayed growing up. She had betrayed me as I grew up, and then I betrayed my mother in the ultimate way. 3 generations of botched trust. I mean, I would assume that the cycle would end with Aurora because she probably isn't a complete psychopath like you are. And usually it doesn't take much for a good person. All it takes is a good, wholesome person with a good soul, good morals. As much as we all don't want you to mess up Aurora's life, maybe that's what it's going to take for the cycle to stop in your disgusting family. I'm just kidding. That sounded horrible, but you know what I'm saying? Come on. I just don't know what you do in your private life, but I have a lot of concerns. Anywho, then Melissa said, "What were your grandparents, Dee Dee's parents, like?" And I'm assuming that she asked her that because Gypsy just said it was 3 generations of betrayal, right? So let's see if Gypsy catches on. Again, this is the first time I'm ever reading this. I will let you know when there's excerpts that I have read before, but I've not read this. Gypsy said, "Well, my mother told me my grandfather Claude had a wandering eye. My grandmother died in 1997 when I was young, around 6 years old, I think. My mom was pretty devastated. Soon after her death..." So you know the year that she died, and you think you were 6 years old, but you know exactly how old you are. Please, stop it. Stop the cap. I was young, around 6 years old, I think. My mom was pretty devastated. Soon after her death, like really soon, my grandfather dated a woman named Laura and married her. According to Laura, my mother put Roundup, a toxic chemical fertilizer, in her food. And what's really interesting is that my mother and Laura and my stepmother, Christy, all were nurses' aides at the same hospital and actually all worked together. Melissa said, so from a young age, with your parents' divorce, and what your mom told you about Claude, do you feel like you didn't have good models of what a trusting relationship looked like? Gypsy said, I didn't realize there were things in my life that weren't normal until I got to prison and worked through it all. Like the baths I used to take with my mother up until right before the murder. So I'm assuming that this book is what they based the act on? No, because the act had already come out. Because reading this so far, I see so many similarities to the act, right? Which had already come out because this book was written right before she got out. Is this the true story, or is all of this just Gypsy's account? I'm assuming that since both of these, this book and the act, are extremely, almost identical, that both of them are quite literally just Gypsy's first-hand account. No, not the truth. Not ideally what could have been going on. Okay. Like the baths I used to take with my mother up until right before the murder. Melissa, wait, what? You bathed with your mother as a grown woman? And the phone call ended. This call is from a correctional facility and may be monitored and recorded. Melissa says, Gypsy, I'm still here. Well, it wasn't all the time, but I would hop in the tub with her, and I never thought this is not normal. So you didn't? She didn't make you. You would just hop in the tub with her? And that's your mother. She's like, I guess, weirdo, but okay. Melissa, nope, that's not normal, Gypsy. Well, it was when my mother would shave my vagina. Stop the caparoonies. Stop the capery. Stop it. No one was shaving your vagina, okay? Except for you, probably. I didn't hear you telling Nick in any of those videos that, oh, look at my... I'm not even going to say it the way you say it because you say it so creepy. You weren't like, my mom shaved it for me. Girl, get out of here. Melissa said, oh my God. Gypsy, when I was at real age 19, my mother told me that her father had molested her, and I did have a memory from when I was 5 that I knew was odd. My grandfather drew a bath and made my mom and me bathe with him. My mother told me that when we lived with my grandfather and his wife for a little bit after she had the car accident, waiting for her leg to heal, that he would take her into other rooms and continue the molesting. If I had to guess, he was helping her because she couldn't do a bath and get in and out of the bathtub all by herself. He might have been standing in the bathtub or something, trying to help her in there. I don't know. But all I know is I was in an accident about 5 years ago and I was in a wheelchair for a year. I shattered all the bones in my feet. And people who I never wanted to see me naked had to see me naked because I had to take a bath. I had to have someone literally pick me up and put me in the bathtub. And then I had to have them lift me up and pull me out. People I never wanted to see me naked. Ever. I was mortified. But you got to do what you got to do. You can't be disgusting. And you were 5. Who gives a shit if you're in the bathtub? They're going to bathe you anyway. They're going to see you naked anyway. I doubt you were bathing yourself in the shower at 5. Or maybe you weren't even showering. I don't know. My mother told me that when we lived with my grandfather and his wife for a little bit after she had the car accident, waiting for her leg to heal, and that he would take her into other rooms and continue the molesting. I'm not buying it. Melissa, as an adult and after she had already become a mother, she said her father was still doing this, right, Melissa? Because it doesn't make any sense. I took this photo of my mom with my digital camera about a month after the car accident in 2001. She was in the hospital for 2 months. Her tibia and fibula were broken and she needed to have plates and rods and screws put in, which never resulted in the bone fusion her doctors had hoped for. Afterward, she experienced chronic pain, which led her to be prescribed with pain meds, which led to my addiction to her opioids. Okay, well, we're just going to leave that one alone because Gypsy said, yes, and I believed her because I had good reason to, especially while we had lived with him and Laura. He denies it, but he did those things to me too. Pulling away. When my mother would shave me, she'd call it making me clean. I think that the childhood sexual abuse she endured and the hints of Munchausen syndrome by proxy my maternal grandmother exhibited resulted in my mother needing her little girl to be clean. Please do not mistake this as me trying to play Freud. I've just examined very deeply how all this might have seemed from my mother's perspective. My mother's first betrayal by her own father was exasperated by her husband, my father, asking for a divorce. And here I was, the third person, closer than close to her, that would betray her too. But so do you feel bad or? No? Okay. First, by trying to run away, then just pulling away because I wanted to grow up. And then when the murder happened, well, we all know what happened. We all thought that that was the only thing you were talking about anyway, because what? You're not betraying your mother by running away. Everyone does it. Give me a break. I ran away like 4 counties away and took everything I owned. My friend's mom called and she's like, I think she thinks she's going to live here. My mom's like, well, I'm not picking her up. Tell me about when you and your dad learned that your mother had lied to you about him being a deadbeat all those years. Tell me about when you and your dad learned that your mother had lied to you about him being a deadbeat all those years. Hold on. I need to recalibrate. Tell me about when you and your dad learned that your mother had lied to you about, okay. So tell me about when your dad found out that Dee Dee had been saying he was a deadbeat all those years. I mean, that's such a loaded question. What a weird, stupid question. Gypsy, my first public defender, she may have just stated it as though she asked the question because Gypsy probably just went on some tangent, if I had to guess. Gypsy, my first public defender, Clayt Baker, was the one who first told me that my father had been sending money and letters and gifts for me all those years. I didn't believe him. I thought, who is this guy? Who is pretending he knows about my parents and how MIA my dad was? I didn't know that Clayt was in touch with my father, who claimed he was blindsided by the news that I was a healthy 23-year-old. Why would I believe Clayt that my father called me on every birthday and sent Christmas presents? My mother had told me all about the real Rod, like how this one time he came home drunk to me, crying as an infant. He supposedly lifted me by the neck and said, "Shut her up or I will." Yeah, right. Have you met your dad? I'm sorry, I just don't. I mean, hey, you never know. How he had wished for a baby boy instead. She told me once that if I had come out a boy, my dad would have stayed. My mom used to tell me all the time that when I was little that I should have been a boy, or I'd be good looking if I was a boy. Like, she used to say all kinds of weird shit to me. I heard all the time, of course, how my dad left my mother for another woman, her coworker, Christy, at the hospital. Well, and he did. And that woman is now your stepmom, Christy, right? Christy is my mother now. I don't know where I'd be without her. You'd probably still be in prison. I don't know. In Amsterdam, in the red light district, maybe? Selling on OF, selling your exhibits at the low price of everything's got to go. It's on clearance. I don't know. My mother had told me my father never sent money, had started a new family, and he was probably abusing and didn't come to see me in the hospital when she supposedly called him relentlessly to tell him I was in the hospital, which is so wrong. We have all seen the communication between Dee Dee and Rod, like, give me a break, stop the cap. Clayt told me a very different scenario about my father, that he had records of my father's child support payments, money sent to help pay for endless medical bills and stuff like that. Lies. That's what the chapter's called. The discovery process necessary in preparation for trial was the first time I'd heard the term Munchausen by proxy, and the first time I understood that my mother was as sick as, or sicker than, she ever made me out to be. Listening to Clayt explain what he thought he saw jumping off the medical records and transcripts of interviews, I felt like I was listening to a story about someone else, another girl somewhere, and I felt sorry for her. I can't. I was a lie to myself. I was a healthy woman, not a sick girl. I had a father who loved me instead of the deadbeat one I thought I had. Nothing made sense, and I couldn't figure out how to trust the truth or wipe away years of brainwashing about my father. How could I trust him or Christy moving forward? You know, we see it in all these FOIA videos of her crying like, I just don't want you to leave me like my dad. All that bullshit. But you never thought any other thoughts. You never thought, well, maybe it's not like that. I mean, I don't know what you thought, but it appears, according to all of the millions of hours of videos that we've seen, that you never had anything else in your mind that you wanted. Now, when you're younger, you're more likely to have the ability or the desire to yearn for things that you want to happen because you haven't been through enough life to know that, like, what has happened is probably what is going to happen, and you can't just sit there and fantasize about what you may want to happen. So when you're younger, even in your early 20s, you're more likely to fantasize about something that you would want when things around you feel or seem or are deemed to be things in a way that you don't want them to be like. So people who are positive and have positive thoughts and have positive goals and who are good people usually imagine things like better hope out in the world. Like, there's got to be more than this in life. Like, I don't want my life to be like this. I want it to be good. I want it to be this. I want it to be that. And I'm not saying you didn't say those things, but you didn't say those things. You said, I don't want you to be fun. I don't want us to get married. And then you leave me like my dad. Or whatever bullshit you were trying to pull. You were never striving for the better things. You were just consuming yourself in all of the facade of this fatherless child life, this horrifying, husband and father who was abusive and who abandoned us. And you reveled in that situation and then used it as part of your tactic with Nick to scare him into not being that way. It's not normal to me. To me, it's not normal. I didn't have any kind of a normal childhood. So your fucking bullshit does trigger me because you're so full of shit. It's insulting when you're lying about your abusive childhood because your brain is so fucking narcissistic and sociopathic. All you care about is yourself, that you lie about how you were mistreated. You are just the worst person in the world. If you're going to lie about something, why don't you lie about something good? And be like, yeah, I was balling when I was little. We had limousines and unicorns and all kinds of, you know what I'm saying? Gypsy, that's how I feel. There's something about this case that is deeply insulting and toxic. And there's reasons why I need to research it and read about it, because it causes me to reflect on my childhood. It has me calibrate my own situation and puts my own situation into perspective to make me understand whether or not was I exaggerating or was I not. And I have no reason to lie. Not only do you lie about your abuse for whatever reason, to justify your murder is exactly what it is. Because according to all those FOIA videos that you made for Nick, you would never have ever even told anybody about anything like this unless you needed to excuse the reason why you murdered your mother. You were going to murder her anyway, because in your mind, your only way to freedom was to kill her. That's it. Because according to you and the way you think in any situation, you are straight to the negative. You embrace all of the things. Even if your mom was lying to you about your dad because she didn't want you to be in contact, whatever it was, you still never chose to ever have any other thoughts. You never chose, and you are not stupid. You don't just have a third grade education. You were smarter than you say you were when you were living with your mom. But you chose to feed and absorb all the negative things that you ever heard or you made up or whatever the fuck it is. You created this negative, abusive, fake ass situation, and then you used it as your storyline to justify yourself committing that crime at the time, and then continued to carry those lies as your little story into your justification for what you did. And now it must be real rough not being able to live your life without having to defend and confront or face all of your lies that we are calling out all day, every day, because it's so disturbing and we're never going to stop until you come clean. And as disturbed and disgusted, and as much as we hate you, which is a horrible word, it's a horrible thing to feel about a person. As much as everybody hates you, we may never trust you ever again. But I bet we'd back off a hell of a lot if you would just say something that we could trust or believe. But your damage is so far done. And I bet I couldn't possibly be the only person that you trigger like this or that you insult. You insult other criminals. You insult other people like the Duggars who had to escape and do something so brave, so scary, to literally escape death and torture. You are an insult to people like that. You are a joke. Get the off social media. We are so sick of your face. I don't like feeling like this. I don't like being put into an emotional state that I didn't want to be put in. And that's what your story does. And I'm not like a glutton for punishment. I don't sit here and do this so that I can feel this way. It just inevitably happens the more I hear your lying ass mouth flap. I was going to say something that my best friend Crystal, rest in peace, used to say. It's probably would be insulting to some people, but it's hella funny. You're a liar and a fat mouth. I really did mean it when I made that video and I said you really should find a country where there are very few people who know who you are, or at least they don't speak any English enough for it to matter, and you just need to start over. Someone get that baby, not anyone in your family or kins, because I'm sorry, after seeing the act, I'm like, that's what made you attracted to her? What? Ugh. And I get it. It was probably the scene on the bus, with Nick, where you're in fantasy land, and that could have probably. But then it's a fantasy. It's like pretend. It's all pretend. That wasn't like a version of who you really are in real life. That was literally a fantasy version of you. That's what they're portraying. That how Nick saw you and why he was so smitten and obsessed with you in order to, help you commit this crime. You know what though? I think we're gonna end this video here today. Let me see where the end of the chapter is. Oh, there's 10 pages left in the chapter. Okay, we will be back to finish the chapter. Take care of yourselves. Get some rest. I'm going to get some rest. Hype the video if you can. Let me know in the comments if you hype the video, because it doesn't tell us when our videos are hyped. I only know when you all tell me. I just want to thank the members of the Just Coast Club and everyone who subscribes and who are helping me build my channel. We're only partway through the first chapter, by the way. It's going to be a long one.